protecting the past and preserving the future. That's the goal and mission of the Harrison House today. Its current owners hoping that this piece of Black history helps educate people for generations to come.
So you see the sign that says Historic West Side.
I'm Darlene Ede. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Katherine Duncan. She is the Executive Director at the Harrison House. In this position, she spent most of her days educating people about African American history and how to deal with today's racial climate in America. At the end of the day, she is all about how to create a more sustainable community. Let's welcome Katherine Duncan.
Wow, that's just a great introduction.
That's who you are. All right, so what is the history behind the Harrison House?
I was spending a lot of time working with the Moulin Rouge because I knew that the Moulin Rouge was the first integrated hotel casino in America and that it had been closed by the sheriff and then subsequently met a lot of fires, and we don't know if the fires were done by the government or people were burning down. It just seemed like the Moulin Rouge was always the subject of a hate crime. So when they finally demolished the whole thing and tore it all down, we go, well, there had to be Black history before the Moulin Rouge, because every time you talked about Black history, it was always just Moulin Rouge. So we went looking for places that talked about Black history before the Moulin Rouge opened, because that's when it was truly segregated. Up until March 25th, 1960, if you were Black, you weren't allowed south of the Bonanza Road. That's just how the segregation worked. So one of the ladies in the Historical Society found this property and suggested that we buy it and make it a place where the community could come and learn about this history. So we were always talking about just a place for tea and conversation. So I think we're here now. We're here having tea and conversation about how we came to be how we are. But this place is important because in 1949 it was listed in the Negro Motorist Traveler's Guide. You know, because Black people traveling across the country needed to know where it was safe to stay, because most places would not accept you if you were Black, or if you weren't white for that matter. So Harrison House was a stop along the road for travelers traveling across America. And because it was expensive to stay here, you had to have money, so it attracted the famous entertainers who could afford to stay here, like the Sammy Davis Jr.'s and Nat King Cole's, Pearl Bailey, Lena Horne, I imagine, Joe Louis. Anyone who played Vegas up until 1960 would have come through these doors and stayed here at the Harrison House. So we're happy to be able to tell those stories, you know. And for young people to realize that, oh, you know, Nat King Cole couldn't live at the Sands Hotel. No, he could not. Sammy Davis Jr. was not welcome at the Riviera Hotel or the Sands Hotel.
Blacks were not allowed to gamble in the casino. Blacks could not stay on what we now lovingly call the Strip. Whether you were headlining or not, that was the rules that prevailed.
And not even if you were the legendary, renowned jazz singer Sammy Davis Jr. After his shows, Sammy would be shown the back door and make his way to the other side of town.
We stayed on the west side of Vegas.
How America was racially. It wasn't just Las Vegas, but America was separated by skin color.
So what is your purpose with the Harrison House, and what is your mission?
Well, it's that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Because we spend a lot of time on this black-white conflict. And so we have to get to the point where we look at what things are human. So Harrison House really wants to talk about how do we become a more sustainable community? How do we grow our own food? How do we save on our power bill or get to net zero? How do we conserve water, recycle? So we talk about sustainability into the future. So I say to people, you might come in here Black or you may come in white, but when you leave, you're gonna leave here green. Because even if we get the racial thing straight, the more importantly is how do we protect our environment and how do we sustain ourselves on the planet. I think those get to be more human challenges. But to get to that point, we have to stop being angry with each other. So Harrison House is a place where people can learn about the past and then learn some techniques for handling racism. And so what are some techniques? We ask white people to stop saying, oh, I'm colorblind and I see everybody the same color. No, it's stop being colorblind. Take off your blindfolds and see me for you know, being a slave descendant, because that's what I am. Beyond my black skin, I'm a slave descendant, and I'm a very uneducated person. I was schooled in America, so give me a break. Cut me a little slack, you know. You know, I'm getting there, but I just need a little bit more time.
Right.
And so when it comes to reconciliation, we want black people to stop blaming and accusing and pointing fingers at the descendants of the slave masters. They didn't do anything. They will take responsibility for their ancestors. They will repent for what their ancestors did when they get an understanding. But for you to point fingers at them and blame it, it's not doing you any good, because it's all it's doing is causing you high blood pressure, heart attack, diabetes. So we got to come up off of our resentment and start learning to forgive people, even if they don't know that they need to be forgiven. So once we get to reconciliation, then we can start working together, you know, on service projects. There's a great group that comes over here that calls themselves Shine City. Shine City, they come in, they feed the homeless, they pick up trash on the street, but now they start to think about asking, I said, instead of coming over here and feeding the homeless, I want you to start thinking about what you can do to eliminate homelessness. Let's talk about how we can build the city of the future. What do we have to offer? What does this community have to offer that other communities don't have? How do we see ourselves into the future? And I see Harrison House being the central location for the new community to develop. Because we've got Sin City, and Sin City's doing a great job with adult entertainment, gambling, gentlemen's clubs, all the things that happen, nightclubs, bars, that's for adults. Here, let's build a place for families. Let's build a place so that little children can laugh and ride bicycles, and let's have a tricycle race. But let's build the kingdom of heaven, okay? Let's build a place where families can flourish in Las Vegas. So we have to rival Disneyland. So if you ask a little girl, you want to go to Disneyland or you want to go to the Promised Land? They're going to say, what's in the Promised Land? So we have to think out of the box and see how we can be the future of Las Vegas. How we can be the shining role model for the rest of the country and the world. We're Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby. So, what are some of the challenges you're facing and to be able to see your vision come alive?
Well, I guess the number one challenge was getting people to believe that someone would actually want to come to this neighborhood on purpose. You know, because we've got a bad reputation. Every concierge desk in Las Vegas, every taxi cab driver will say, don't go to the west side.
That's true.
They don't know why they're telling people that, but they've been told, don't go there, it's dangerous. You know, you won't come out alive. So our image has been really, really tainted. And at one time, I would have probably told people the same thing. But we've gone from being the fourth most dangerous neighborhood in the nation to one of the most sought after real estate development opportunities in America.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And so that challenge, I believe, has overcome. Now the challenge is trying to figure out what to develop, because there seems to be so many billions of dollars being earmarked for underserved communities. So which direction do we take? What should we build and what shouldn't we build? What do we want in our neighborhood and what don't we want? So that's a challenge. But here at the house, we decided that historic preservation is the way to go. We want to preserve this history, but there are some who believe that it should be torn down or at least uprooted and set over in a theme park. So do we preserve just the house in a theme park setting, or do we preserve it in the neighborhood where everything happened? And once we decided to restore, we had to learn the language of historic preservation. So you have to learn the difference between a reconstruction, historic rehabilitation, and a restoration. And each one of those comes with specific guidelines. So it's a learning curve that is really, really horrendous. And I'm not quite sure if I'm there yet, but I'm working on it. And once you learn the language of historic preservation, then you're able to at least answer the questions that are on the applications. That seems to be so much support for us, but we lack the capacity to even complete the grant applications or but we've had some great people come in to help write those documents. So the learning to read and write. I mean, I have a college degree, but I realized that there's still a level of reading that I don't understand. Technical reading, I really don't understand. So there's a learning, constantly learning. And then to be able to do the fundraising, because people will come in and people are mad because I won't accept certain things. Well, I gave her some carpet and she won't put it on the floor. Well, we want to bring the floors back down to the natural pine wood. So, no thank you for the carpet. So I'm the most ungrateful person because I won't accept certain gifts, But we want to be, we want to take it to a point where it was originally. We want to get the house to its original standard. And so, you wouldn't have put a shag carpet on the floor in 1942. It was white marble tile, I understand, and Persian rugs. So we want to see if we can restore the house to when it was wonderful. We'd like to have exhibits on the wall that are to tell the story. So when people walk through the house, they'll understand what the house is, and we want it to be a community resource. We want people to feel comfortable coming in here and talking about their challenges, and hopefully we can get them on the right path to racial healing and reconciliation.
What can the community do to help with this project?
I think the biggest item that we need is with governance, because running a nonprofit organization, you need people who are generous, people who are influential, people who are affluent to help with the project, and we need the people in the community to embrace the property. We need to redo the floors, we need to refurbish the windows, we need to refurbish the doors. There's a lot of money that we need to be able to get these things done because it's intricate work. The front yard, we need to totally re-landscape because people need to see activity here. They need to see bridal showers and tea parties. They need to see tables out on the front yard with tablecloths. We need to make this house a welcoming place for the community so they take ownership of it. And then they can see that, well, you know what? There was an activity at the Harrison house and everybody's happy and everybody's still alive, so maybe we can go to that neighborhood. We need some good positive press. So some foundational money, some new marketing, and to let the world know that it's safe to come into the African American community.
Yes, there you have it. Katherine Duncan, thank you so much for this wonderful experience. We appreciate everything that you've done, what you're doing, and we are so happy to be a part of this project.
Thank you for coming.
You've heard it all. Help us help the Harrison House. We need your support today.